A very good morning to you all and welcome to Luntha TV. It's yet another program of Press Review. Today, Thursday, the 7th of July in the year of 2022. Today you'll be with me, Luntha Perry, and my colleague
King Chagamwendo.
And we'll be taking you through the publications of the Daily Times
and the Nation newspaper.
So you may go ahead with what's on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
All right, thank you. On the front page of the Nation newspaper, there is a story with the headline, ACB clarifies the SATA status, and it says, that's according to a caption which says he is person in interest, but more on whether there are many charges against him. And partly the story says the Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB says Malawi-born business person Uzone Sataz is a person of interest in its local investigation linked to his contracts with public entities in Malawi. The Bureau was responding to our query on whether they intend to act on United Kingdom's based Sattar in connection with dealings related to so-called politically exposed persons in Malawi, some of whom the ACB has interest.
All right, on the front page of the Daily Times, we have Chokora dares Malawi on prosperity. That's the headline. Partly the story says President Lazarus Chokora yesterday challenged Malawians to rise, unite and focus on national development endeavors. Chokora was speaking in the language during a national service of worship marking Malawi's 58 years of independence from British. In his speech, which was dominated by the phrase, "A new Malawi is rising," the Malawi leader said the nation was standing at a crossroads and in the valley of decision, where citizens must choose whether they'll sit as spectators or work as a team to build Malawi.
Alright, on the second page of the Nation newspaper, there's another story which says APM says Masamboga case politicized, and the part inside the story says former President Peter Mutharika has accused the Lazarus Chakwera administration of diverting attention from corruption scandals and economic problems by framing him in the killing of a man with albinism. His sentiments come 5 days after the Director of Public Prosecution DPP Steve Kayuni directed Malawi Police Service to begin criminal proceedings against Mutharika and his ex-aide Heather Kimtaba in connection with the 2018 murder in Machinga of McDonald Masambuga, a 24-year-old man with albinism.
Here on the second page of the Daily Times, we have a longer wait for CPA amendment. Thus the headline, partly the story says the Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB and Malawians at large will wait longer for some provisions of the Corrupt Practices Act CPA to be amended. One of the amendments relates to the provisions that require the ACB to seek consent from the Director of Public Prosecutions DPP before commencing criminal proceedings. Ministry of Justice spokesperson Perirani Masanjala said the bill will not be presented to Parliament during the upcoming meeting scheduled for July 18. Maybe just to comment on this story, there was this call that the Corrupt Practices Act should be amended, much looking at how issues of ACB before commencing with some investigations or some proceedings, they need to seek consent from the Director of Public Prosecutions, which was somehow delaying those proceedings to take place. And now the bill will not be presented in the August House, as they'll be meeting on July 18. Maybe this delay, what would be your input? Do you think it's good?
No, I don't think it's good, because it simply means that the ACB will still be facing the challenges that it has been facing before, in as far as the commencement of some more especially high-profile cases is concerned. So I think it was a high time that the August House could have discussed this bill, because it gives room for ACB to work with agents so that justices could be achieved whenever it matters.
All right, and you look at this CPA, the Corrupt Practices Amendment Bill. The Parliamentary Committee, which looks on legal affairs, said it should be brought to some private, like private bills. They need to look on it, something like that,
before
privately.
being presented to the August House.
The Minister of Justice said, no, I think we need to present it in Parliament because it's government business, of which others like the Charles Muhango commended that. But then here we're looking at, yes, it was said it should be brought in Parliament, it's government business, but here we are again, we're having those delays. I'm not so sure why this will not be presented on July 18, but I think if they were to somehow fasten this, SCB should at least have a stand to say they can go ahead with some proceedings without necessarily saying we need to seek consent from DPP.
Yeah, for sure. All right, maybe we are done on that one.
Yes.
We move on to another story which is being found on the 3rd page of the Nation newspaper, and this one says judiciary others mourn Singini, and the part of the story says the judiciary had described the retired Malawi Supreme Court of Appeal judge, the late Elton Singini, as a humble and selfless individual who immensely contributed to the development of law in Malawi. High Court of Malawi and the Malawi Supreme Court of Appeal acting registrar Kondwani Banda said this in an interview yesterday following the death of Singini on Tuesday at Kamuzu Central Hospital in Lilongwe.
Already on the 4th page of the Daily Times, we have government speaks tough on child labor. Partly, the story says Labour Minister Vera Kamtukule has warned traditional leaders and parents that should people involved in child labor, that laws will catch up with them. Kamtukule said the 2015 National Child Labor Survey, which the National Statistical Office conducted, revealed that 2.1 million children are subjected to child labor in the country, necessitating the need to cramp down on perpetrators.
No, the number is just huge, because 2.1 million, that's a lot of figures there.
Yeah, and that we're talking about figures of 2015. So you look at how many years has it been from 2015 to 2022?
And possibly with
7 years.
Yeah, and
so
possibly with the challenges that the country is currently facing, possibly the number has rapidly increased.
Yes.
So I think something has to be done.
And it's very worrisome to see that even parents themselves, they are involved in pushing their children to work, let's say, in tobacco farms, in tea farms, estates, something like that. So I think if in the communities, the traditional leaders also would take up this challenge to say they should monitor what's happening in their village. You know, government cannot manage on its own to say to go in this village trying to find out, say, what's happening. But if traditional leaders, parents themselves, even well-wishers in the communities would take this responsibility to say, let's protect the child, let's protect his or her rights, and let's report those who are doing child labor issues towards the child. I think it can work better, and you will see that such issues, such cases will drop. We'll talk a beautiful story someday.
Yeah. Actually, it has to start from household level, moving upward. Otherwise, we cannot rely only on government that they can deal it with a proper way that we may no longer face child labor in Malawi. That's impossible. But it should start from household, then community. Everyone should be taking up his or her responsibilities as far as protecting children to child labor is concerned. All right, let's turn to business pages. In the Nation newspaper, there is a story, climate shocks are blamed for fuel poverty, and it says Malawi poverty assessment shows that more people have remained poor in the past decade, with some falling into the poverty trap amid rising inequality, in part due to recurring climate shocks. should be recurring climate shocks. The assessment published last week by the World Bank shows that for every 3 Malawians that moved out of poverty between 2010 and 2019, 4 fell back. And with around 60% of individuals experiencing at least one episode of poverty either in 2010, 2019 or both years, a demonstration of the persistence of poverty.
And here we have a tobacco transport. It charges up 40%. Partly the story is saying the Ministry of Agriculture has approved a 40% raise in tobacco transport charges in the wake of the recent fuel prices hike and the recent 25% valuation of the Malawi kwacha. This means farmers will have to pay more when ferrying their tobacco to the auction floors. The upwards adjustment follows a consensus among stakeholders in the tobacco supply chain. I'm feeling sorry for our local farmers.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I have another story here which says local farmers are said to benefit from productivity initiative, and of course the partly the story says smallholder farmers from Malawi and 3 other sub-Saharan African countries are said to boost their productivity and food security benefit from the partnership between ETC Group and World Bank Group member International Finance Corporation IFC. The partnership will see increasing access to critical agriculture inputs and training services in Malawi, Zambia, and Tanzania. So, as we are feeling sorry for tobacco farmers, at least this one might bring a smile for local farmers as well.
Yeah. You know, it goes both ways as well. Yeah, so here another story saying rare earth prospects excite miner, says government, rather excites miner and government. Partly the story says Mkango Resources Limited President Alexander Lemon has described the Songwe Hill mining project in Palombe as transformational for Malawi. Lemon's comments come following the release of the project's definitive feasibility study, which has revealed a $559 million post-tax net present value and an internal rate of return over 31.5%. Lemon said in a statement on Tuesday that Songwe Hill will catalyze a new industrial revolution in Malawi, creating employment opportunities and producing high value-added exports, as well as further unlocking Malawi's mineral potential and new infrastructure developments.
All right, do you have any other before we move on to international stories?
Well, here we have Umodzi Holdings records first profit. Partly the story says Umodzi Holdings Limited, which owns BICC, Malawi Square, President Hotel and Presidential Villas, has said it has posted its first ever profit since it was established around 2013. Umodzi Holdings Limited chairperson John Kamanga said the firm, which has been registering losses, recorded a profit of 413 million kwacha in the year ended March 31, 2022. Kamanga attributed the financial turnaround to cost containment strategies the new board put in place soon after jumping on board last year.
Wow. At least now they can have a smile, because I'm looking at the years from 2013 to date without making a profit. Now we have just realized such huge profit. I think that is good news in as far as Umodzi Holdings Limited is concerned.
Yeah, and you look at this profit is just within 9 months, not the 12 months that we know the financial year. It started back in July last year, if not June, to March. So you look at the months, and only 9 months, but 413 million. So I would say thumbs up to the new board, because definitely they are implementing some good strategies that is seeing the company to grow and to make profits like this.
All right, now turning to international stories, I have two here. The first one says 22 Malians die in a battle off Libya coast, and it says at least 22 Malian citizens, including 3 children, have died after a boat they were sailing in got stuck off the coast of Libya while attempting to migrate to Europe for greener pastures. Al Jazeera quoted the United Nations, UN, and Mali's government as having confirmed the disaster yesterday, saying those who died were part of the group of 83 people, mostly Malians, stuck on a distressed vessel since June 2022. The second one says Tunisia freezes accounts of senior politicians, and it says the Tunisian Financial Analysis Committee yesterday ordered a freeze on the financial assets of 10 people, including 2 prominent politicians. BBC quoted the financial auditor as having said it made the order based on a letter from anti-terrorism judge, but he did not give any supporting details. The freeze will affect the former speaker of the Tunisian parliament and leader of Islamic Ennahda party and former prime minister Hamadi Jabari, as well as their children.
Alright, we may move on to the arts and culture section. Here we have a Blacks Pixie warm-up for independence. Partly the story says a reggae group of black missionaries alongside Anthony Mr. Kuma Kondeta and Pixie on Tuesday entertained people with their vibes in an Independence Eve bash that went all the way to the early hours of Independence Day, or at Motel Paradise in Luntha, organized by team entertainers led by Tondorai Banda. The concert saw the artists thanking God for the gift of life and peace in the country, and at the same time bemoaning challenges such as corruption and injustices that the country was going through. Pixie, fresh from the launch of his third album Luntha Indilong on Friday, in an interview after his performance, hailed people for the support they have given him throughout his music career.
All right, I have only one arts and culture story that I'll be taking, and this one says guitarist Carlos Santana collapsed on stage, and part of the story says legendary US guitarist Carlos Santana collapsed on stage during an open concert near Detroit, Michigan. Medical personnel treated the 74-year-old in Claxton, and he was later taken to a local hospital's emergency department for observation. Santana, who was born in Mexico, later wrote on his Facebook page that he forgot to eat and drink water, and so I dehydrated and passed out.
Maybe if you may also check this one, New Arts and Entertainment Venue.
Okay, we can say the New Arts and Entertainment Venue born in Mzuzu, and the part of the story says Mzuzu has a new entertainment place by the name of Alligators, which is offering a variety of services. The facility is situated just close to Mzuzu Road traffic offices, and boasts a modern bar and customized stage performance, which is suited for all kinds of artist events such as theater and music.
That's a very good development there in Mzuzu, and for our artists, they won't be struggling just to one place.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so moving on to the back page to look at some sports news, we have a bad start. That's the main headline. The sub-headline says Flames fail to take in Kosafa opener. Partly the story says the Malawi national football team reached the lowest ebb after a 2-1 defeat to Lesotho in the opening match of the 2022 Hollywood Bats Kosafa Cup at King Zwelithini Stadium in Durban, South Africa yesterday. Lesotho spelled the Independence Day party for hundreds of Malawian fans who turned out at the match venue to give vocal support to their countrymen. The result was an anticlimax for the entire country on a day it celebrated 58 years of self-rule.
Okay.
In sports, we can't predict how it's going to turn out, today being Independence Day. I'm sure everything was supposed to be as smooth as it could be. And Malawi, I should say, Flames, were supposed to win also. But you never know what can happen on the ground. Still, next time they'll do good.
But when will be the next time for Malawi? Because we are actually like a CA, which we always interested to watch the next move.
This is not the first and the last game for Malawi. They can do better with other teams as well.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. But I think we need to change 2 other 3 things in as far as how we are playing these days. The style of playing. Anyway,
not even the style. I noted that we have good players, young ones, you know, young players. But you see that in yesterday's
they were coming from bench. That's what we are trying to say?
No, I'm saying who I saw in there. I think they are those experienced. I can say Kalisa, right? But if you look at Kosafa, if you see our friends, they usually get, you know,
even under 23 sides.
Exactly. So we have young athletes in there who are doing good. We have young athletes in Malawi team or in other clubs. They were supposed to get those, not just be using the same
Actually,
over and over. We need to change and see some changes, you know.
That is one of the questions that people have been asking since the squad was released. But there is a backing point that they have been giving, saying that they are using this COSAFA Cup as one way of getting prepared for the upcoming 2023, which has now shifted to 2024. African Cup of Nations AFCON finals. It should be AFCON playoffs, which will be taking place maybe from September, I guess. So let's just wait and see. But in as far as today's game, we are really poor. All right, I have a story on the very back page of the Nation newspaper, which says Noma's KB match to spice up on Ponera Stadium launch. A friendly match between Mighty Mukuru Wanderers and Kamuzu Palace KB will spice up the launch of the projected 25,000-seater Champions Stadium in Ponera Dowa on Sunday. The facility's owner, Sakaike Kavina, said in an interview yesterday that while works are ongoing, he thought it wise to launch the stadium.
Sorry, in the gaming story, a Lilongwe-based businessman is smiling all the way to the bank after winning 20 million kwacha in a Premier Lotto jackpot Super 5. The 38-year-old man who runs a grocery business decided against disclosing his name, opting for a fake name of Gift Mwauka. He said the money would change his life for the better as he would invest it in his business.
Congratulations.
Yes.
20 million kwacha. I think
that's a life-changing amount for someone
sure.
who can really think of investing that money. Yeah.
All right, let me take this one. CAF B coaching course starts today, and it says the long-awaited CAF B coaching course starts today at Mpira Village in Chiwembe Township, Luntha. This will be a first CAF B course in Malawi since 2016, after the Continental Football Governing Body stopped CAF courses and it directed the member association to develop custom tailored manuals, which Malawi drafted and was approved in 2020.
Right, moving on to some international sports news, we have Juve agree Pogba deal. Thirdly, the story says Juventus have reached an agreement to sign Paul Pogba on a free transfer on a 4-year contract. Pogba is expected in Turin on Saturday for a medical and to formally sign the contract. The France international has been free to negotiate with clubs over his next move since January. Pogba left Manchester United at the end of his contract last month.
Wow, what a catch by Juventus. A good player indeed, Paul Pogba, a World Cup winner. I think he just deserved the best, which he couldn't find it at Manchester United. Anyway, let me finish.
Are you saying you didn't find the best?
At Manchester, I don't think so. I don't think so. Pogba is a good player, a big name.
Sometimes, okay, you can be a good player, but then the players also who are playing with you,
yeah,
communication as well. You find that anyway.
That is what forms Manchester United.
Every team is formed by its players.
All right, let me finish with this one. Morocco, Senegal in the Women's African Cup of Nations quarterfinals, and says Morocco and Senegal end the places in the Women's African Cup of Nations quarterfinals after both won their second successive group matches. A penalty in each half helped the host Morocco beat Uganda 3-1 in Group A. The first of Morocco's two penalties was converted by Rosella Ayane in the 14th minute of the match at the state Prince More Abdallah in Rabat, and Uganda leveled the proceedings just after the half-hour mark through Sumanya Kamuntare.
Alright, and that also marks the end of this edition of Press Review, which was coming to you live today, Thursday, July 7, in the year of 2022. We're taking a look at some of the stories that are appearing in the Daily Times and also the Nation newspaper. Remember, we only take some of the stories and we read part of those stories. So to get more details on the stories that we've read and also the stories that are in these publications today, you can purchase today's Daily Times paper at 1,000 Malawi kwacha, and the Nation newspaper.
Yeah, it's the same price, 1,000
Malawi kwacha. So from me, Elena Fiperi, and my colleague
King Major Kamwendo,
we say thank you for watching and have a good morning.